Good afternoon. We have a quorum, so we're going to get started. I call this meeting of the Allocations Committee to order at 4:30 p.m. The first item on our agenda is approval of the March 5th Allocations Committee meeting minutes, which was included in your packet, circulated earlier. At this time, I can entertain a motion.
I motion, Chair.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson and a second from Commissioner Valentin.
Just a quick discussion, Chair, if I may, just a note.
After the motion, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Just a typo on my name. It's Valentin, no E at the end. Thank you.
Over to Linda.
Hello, everyone. We'll go through this fairly quickly. We discussed this at the last Allocations Committee meeting. Feel free to stop me or slow me down if I'm going too fast. But if we can just do a quick recap of what CAP is, it's the program that is as needed, when needed, by request by community members. It is not a project-based program, and it is in place so that artists are able to perform, exhibit, and teach throughout the city of Dallas. Next slide, please. As a refresher, we held two community meetings, one on the 27th of January and one on the 12th of February. As you can see in front of you, the approximate attendance for those meetings, because they were virtual. And then below that, you will see some of the feedback that we received from the artists who attended the meetings, including, I'll touch on some of the points: reducing lead time to submit CAP requests, issues with invoicing, wanting to be able to provide services back to back without having to submit a new request form, et cetera, et cetera. We can go to the next slide, please. So based on the feedback that we received, we created some new opportunities, new updates in the guidelines. One of them was requesting a reference letter for brand new applicants, and that would be a reference letter from any source of services that they provided in the past. Another new item on the guidelines would be providing a stipend of $500 for individual artists who provide visual arts. This would be for artists who provide services to the community with materials that the community will actually take home, because they have that extra expense and the community actually gets to keep the materials. We would like to provide them with at least $500 that would be provided to them in a reimbursable manner. So they would have to provide receipts, and then they would be reimbursed with their compensation invoices. We will do that at the same time. Next slide, please. Okay, something else that we added was, in the past, applicants were not allowed to submit two applications. If they submitted two applications, both applications were thrown out. But what we're proposing is that instead of doing that, we will allow them to select one application to move forward to panel if that application is eligible to move forward to panel. So if they submit two applications and both of them are eligible to move forward, we will ask them, give them the choice of which one they want to move forward to panel, as opposed to, throwing both applications out. Another thing that we would like to propose is, instead of requiring them to provide us with how their proposal, matches the cultural plan, we're actually gearing toward just what the cultural programming is that they have to offer that would benefit the community, as opposed to focusing, because the cultural plan, we actually focused a lot on equity and diversity. And we know the changes that happen there. So All right, next slide, please. Okay, this top one was one that was not included in the last presentation, but I did mention it. And that included the fact that sometimes by the month of April, contracts are not executed. And so we wanted to add that if a contract is not executed by the month of April, between October and April, then the funding that was awarded would be forfeited. And we can use that amount of money for either someone else who's out of funding or just reallocate the funds in another manner. So the glossary of terms, we updated it by adding the assistant and the protected demographic, just to, codify that a little bit better. We had a lot of questions as far as who an assistant was. And so we made sure we included that information as well as protected demographics. This is something that we use whenever someone submits a request and the request is possibly not open to the public, because CAP requests have to be open to the public. If it's not open to the public, but it's for the services for protected demographics, such as a women's shelter, some type of assisted living or preschool, we will consider the request. It's not guaranteed that it will be a yes, but we will consider it based on that because it's not open to the public.
Can we take a question?
Yes.
Commissioner Spellacy, I see that you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. So this is just in relation to, I know I just contacted you the other day about this, with the group that still doesn't have a contract in place. Why does that happen? Like, can you give us a little more clarity? So like, I know I went back through and looked at the list and it looked like there were two, I think, on there that looked like they still didn't have a contract in place. So can you give when they've got so much time to get them done?
Absolutely. So with this happens a lot with organizations, the ones that you are aware of. One of them, their insurance was not in place yet, so they were not cleared through the Office of Risk Management to proceed with their contract. Another one, though they were cleared with their insurance, they were not cleared to conduct business in the city of Dallas through the state of Texas. With their nonprofit was not clear. So they are working on getting that paperwork updated. Their status with the state is inactive. And so we cannot proceed with the contract with an inactive entity. They have to get that active before we can move forward. Does that answer your question, sir? Okay.
Thank you.
Very
And just as an aside, I think you can confirm this, Rhonda, the office does, when this happens, the staff does everything within their power to try to help them get over whatever hurdle. Just these particular hurdles are not things that are in our control or in the control of the staff.
That is correct. That is correct. And we do a lot of follow-up as well, because I know people get busy, but we do a lot of follow-up as much as possible. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I think this is last but not least. This was one of the items that was very popular at our last meeting, and that is the reinstatement of extended programming or extended workshops. We call them residencies, though they're not truly residencies, but we're going to be kind of going with that. And this is where the artists, individual artists, as well as organizations will be able to provide extended services. Right now, in the current guidelines, they can only provide up to 5 workshops per request. So our proposal is to award up to 8 sessions if possible, depending on the amount of funding that the group or individual artist receives. Anyone receiving anywhere from 4,000 to 5,999, that number, we laughed about it last time, can do up to 4 sessions. Anyone from 6 to 9,999 can do 6 sessions, and anyone receiving 10,000 or above can do up to 8 sessions. So we did residencies like this before COVID, and after COVID, we deviated away from it, but we're trying to reinstate it so that they are able to stay at one spot a little bit longer than just 5 sessions. And I believe that is it.
Do we have any questions or discussion? Because this is the meeting when we will need a motion and we need to vote on these guidelines in order for them to move forward in a timely fashion to the Quality of Life Committee and then on to City Council so that our timeline for our arts organizations does not get delayed. So if you have any questions for Rhonda, now is the time.
Actually, I don't have a question, just wanted to make a
Commissioner Jackson.
I just want to say, I think that I know our rules and the guidelines in regards to open to the public, but I think that the services for the entities that you describe is a great, if you're going to bend that rule, if you will, that's a great example because there's a lot of limitations around people in nursing homes and so on and so forth. And we know, the benefit of art, yes, of art and services in all communities, but they can't get out to it, so.
Yes.
And I'll just share this brief story that I heard today from the organization Genesis. But there is a of note comic book artist, Arturo. And his first exposure was an art kit that they're not exactly sure how it was provided, but when he was in a shelter. And in fact, we need to maybe follow up. I don't know if that was an OAC, but I was speaking with them in another capacity today and speaking about how we're passionate about the arts and how, there's medicine and there's this and there's that, but how the arts always bring us, there's always a story related to the arts. So to Commissioner Jackson's point, us being able to go into those places of need is really important. So I share your support of that revision to the guidelines.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to make a comment or have a question for Rhonda? First of all, I'd like to thank you and your staff for an excellent job as always on the guidelines. You're always looking for how we can do it better. And I think every change represents how we can do it better. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion. If anybody would like to make a motion to accept the guidelines as presented.
I move, Madam Chair, that we accept the guidelines as presented for the CAP program, guidelines for 26-27.
Thank you, Commissioner
I'll
Jackson. We
second.
have a motion. We have a second from Commissioner Spellacy. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposition? The motion has carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
We are moving rapidly through our agenda today. The next item up is the recommendation for Arts Activate 2027 guidelines for fiscal year 2026, 2027. I believe we have Julia with us remotely to handle this briefing. Julia,
Hi. I
we miss
apologize for
having you
not.
in the room.
I miss being with you, but I assure you, you don't want what I've got. This
Well, thank you.
daycare is rough, so I'm gonna stay over here. But if we could go
Thank you
ahead
for
and
being with us, even feeling under the weather. We appreciate it.
well, thanks for letting me be here. This is mostly going to be what we talked about last week. So if we can go ahead and get that next slide. Perfect. Okay, so there were basically 3 items that we talked about in our engagement sessions: the program description, the eligibility, and the scoring. And what we opted to do from those engagement sessions is keep the description of the program pretty much the same. That seems to be working for us. And then the 2 things that we are going to change just a little bit are the eligibility and the scoring. For the eligibility, we're going to clarify that there are 2 types of eligibility: the applicant eligibility, you got to live in Dallas, you got to, we have to be an active 501c3, those kinds of things, and the project eligibility. You have to get funding, you have to have both. We're also going to clarify that artists are allowed to bring in revenue through ticketing. We really want them to be able to contribute to the financial success of the project. And we're going to clarify what public events are and their relationship with schools. On the scoring side, this also, we're going to amend just a hair. We added contract compliant points to reward applicants for completing past projects on time and in budget. We added a quiz for everyone about special events and insurance and guidelines, as opposed to the 2 that we had last year. We added points to reward artists for paying other artists more and themselves more. Yay. We removed a special event specific quiz, and we removed additional points for typology because we were essentially counting it twice. So this is what the new rubric is going to look like. Kept all the panel scoring more or less the same, but we are going to emphasize in-person, public, and artistic and cultural events, streamlining that application and rewarding budgets that support our artistic economy. So mostly what changed is this admin scoring over here. We get still 10 points for compliance, 10 points for our budget, and 10 points for where it's located, making sure that we are really pushing these projects out all over the city. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so putting it all together, I know I have many great readers in this group, so I just wanted to make it easy by page number. These are the changes. The program goals were clarified on page 4, and the reason we did that is to make sure that we are all squeaky clean with federal directives. Arts Activate 2027 timelines, we updated the due dates. On this note, Catherine, I want to give a shout out to my team for consistently being super eagle-eyed and actually noticed something since we sent this to you. The allocations meeting that we were going to assign round 1, it's usually September, and we noticed it's right before Labor Day. And so if this committee is not interested in having a Thursday night meeting right before Labor Day, typically that's one that we do actually move. So I would leave that to your discretion if you want to do a September 10th meeting rather than a September 3rd. So it's the week after Labor Day. But we would update the guidelines accordingly.
Let's pause for just a second here, Julia.
Mhm.
All in favor of moving that to the week after Labor Day? Show of hands. Commissioner Spellacy? Would you be opposed to that? Or are you in favor?
I don't care. Either
Okay.
way is fine with me.
Great.
Let's move it.
Fabulous. Okay. Well, then when we do a motion, when this goes to ACAC, I will make that edit. It's not, it shouldn't stop us from voting today. You'll just notice that change in the packet that goes to ACAC.
We can just have whoever makes the motion include that change.
Great.
That would help me.
Fabulous. Eligibility requirements. This is everything we just talked about. The thing that I do want to call out is last month I was really playing with having there be a limit to the number of times that individual artists in our smallest organizations could apply for this program. And what we found was that mathematically, there just aren't that many people that are funded twice that it really makes that big a difference. And some of the people that are funded twice are our most frequent flyer, most dedicated to OAC work kind of artists. And so, in effect, it would likely penalize people more than it would really help us free up funding for lots of organizations. So what I have done is in the guidelines, it says in bright red, there's very little in red in this packet except this that says if we're in round 2 and you have already been funded, or round 3 and you have already been funded once and your scores are really similar to somebody else's, we at allocations committee's discretion can prioritize somebody else over you. So that we can spread the wealth as much as possible. But what this does is it doesn't lock us into turning really great projects away when it doesn't really make that much of a difference in how many people we'd be able to support. So that is a change. Basically, from what I proposed last month, I did some more math and spoke to some artists that were very, very vocal about working with the OAC and their livelihood. And I think that's probably the way we should leave it. So that is, does anybody have any questions about that before I go to the next slide?
Yes, we have one, Commissioner Valentin.
Yes, thank you. In terms of this this shift and strategy, we're specifically talking about artists who for a fiscal year, correct? So not so if you're funded, maybe you were funded 2 years in a row through Arts Activate on something.
Oh,
Is
that
this
we're
what you're
talking about
about?
in one fiscal year by
We're
itself.
talking about in one fiscal year.
So we're
Okay.
talking about, let's say, take artist Fred Villanueva. He applied in round 1 and he got it. and he came back and applied in round 3. We were talking about, and he knocked it out of the park. This happened last year, and he knocked it out of the park and beat everybody else in his group pretty soundly. And so we were considering, what do we do in this situation? Do we spread the wealth among as many people as possible, or do we award the project that really did win? And we award the project that really did win. And I after doing the math, that just doesn't happen that frequently. We're
Understood.
talking 5 to 10 people in a year. And so the stress that would put on those 5 to 10 people that are working consistently with the OAC is probably not worth bringing on only 5 other new people.
Thank you for that clarification, Julia.
Sure.
May I add this and tell me if I'm incorrect, but in my
Mhm.
experience on this committee, over the years, we've had a number of artists in different programs or organizations who come really close and they don't get funded, but they
Mhm.
come back louder and stronger, and they tend to not go from almost made it to almost end. They tend to go from almost made it to middle of the pack the following year. And I feel like that's a strength, maybe not that high, but I feel like that's a strength because we hope we're building relationships with artists that will come back year over year. And so
Mhm.
not, so fixing those application programs problems up front. And in my experience, I can only think of one example. It was several years ago, but when we kind of push somebody in, we find the
Mhm.
opposite happens and we have problems with them, not necessarily Arts Activate, I'm thinking COP, but it really is, in my opinion, and what I have observed, it is a positive to artists that are almost there to wait and make that reward to them, the award to them when they are really comply with all of the application, because they tend to stay in the program. Am I completely
Yes.
wrong about that, Julia, or is that pretty accurate?
No. No, that's pretty accurate. And the other thing that we have done differently over the past couple of years is everybody who requests it gets a scorecard back on how they did. And if you have not been funded 2 times in a row, you get a one-on-one conversation with staff if you request it. And what we found is people who do that get in later. If you could go to the next slide, Drea. Or Adriana, I can see if it's here. Perfect. Okay. So the other things we did differently, I added a checklist. This is something that we had in, I think we have it in the CAP guidelines and we have it in the COP guidelines. I don't know why we didn't have it in Arts Activate, but it's there now. And hopefully this will make the application a little less daunting to people if they can see everything that they need to do up front. We also updated the funding request amounts, especially for organizations. That was confusing this year for a lot of people. So we have clarified it. Nothing is new or different. It's just written differently. Selection and funding, we added that section prioritizing first-time applicants that I just talked about, stuck that whole thing in red. And finally, that admin scoring, we changed it all to match what our artists and community members had told us. So that's everything that's new and different in these guidelines. And let me know if you have other questions.
Do we have any questions or comments? I don't see any on the screen. Can you guys tell if there's anybody that's off screen?
Still in quorum?
We need Brad to, Commissioner Spellacy, could you turn your camera on, please? Thank you. We don't have a quorum unless
Sorry.
you're on screen.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry. I was just walking into my house. Didn't think you wanted to see all the moving around.
Oh. Oh, welcome, Commissioner Truzilla. I could not see you. Do you have any questions? I can't see whether your hand is up or not.
No, I don't. Sorry, I had trouble logging in from Colorado. So,
No
but everything is
problem.
great. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, Chair. An additional Julia, are you done with the updates to the guidelines? Because I have a general question related to Arts Activate. So I'm wondering, should I wait or should I ask now?
So we need to vote and pass these today in order to stay on track for Arts Activate guidelines to go to quality of life and get passed by City Council. It kind of depends on whether, so yes, you should say it now if it has an impact on 26, 27.
I don't think it will at all. It's related to the competitiveness of Arts Activate and that sort of increasing gap between applicants and awardees. And I
Mhm.
was just wondering about that data in terms of who's not receiving the grants, like how many artists versus organizations. And is that something you can continue to aggregate for reporting purposes later on to show the growth, success, and competitiveness and demand for the program?
So I'm going to ask Julia to address that with the detail, but I will say this generally, since you have not had the fun part of going through the Arts Activate rounds yet. But by and large, there is typically a break at a place that makes sense. And when we go through that process, the office under Julia's leadership presents us at least two and often more scenarios that give us some moment to have discussion about where our priorities are. For example, are our priorities more organizations or more individual artists? But I think you will find when you go through the cycle this year, it almost always has a very clear break. And then having given that very general overview, I'd like to turn the floor over to Julia to add or correct anything related to that.
Nope, everything you said, I would have said too. We typically are funding about 30% of artists in a given year, or in a given, yeah, in a given round, in a given year. Round 3 is especially competitive because it's everybody trying to get in their summer projects. And you may just not have figured out all those logistics to apply in round 1 really early. So round 3 is typically our most competitive, and round 2 is typically our least. But on an average, it's about 30%. And we do try and keep it pretty more or less even between the number of individual artists and the number of organizations that we support. And you'll be able to see that in our scenarios when we present them. But yes, in answer to your question, Commissioner Valentino, that we are allowed to make small, like if we catch a typo between now and ACAC, or we word something slightly differently, we can change it before it goes to the next committee. But the really big, meaningful things, today's the day to lock it down.
I would like to add one other thing to the comments about that as well, and that is that we typically in 3 rounds divide whatever the budget is up evenly, but we have in past years adjusted that when we have an exceptional number of high scoring projects in the first or second round. We've tended to regret that later because then we sometimes have an exceptional number of high scoring rounds, but it is a funding program that has some flexibility over the course of the year. And I know you've experienced this with Julia in other areas, that this entire side of the office is very data driven. So as we're going through and making those decisions, we're constantly getting data. And we have at least 2 meetings on each round, don't we, Julia? Typically, we usually start with we usually don't, we very seldom have to come in and look at the proposals and decide. Then we have some time to ask questions of the office if we don't feel like it's addressed everything that we want it to address. Although, again, in recent years, we've asked so many of the same questions, those scenarios tend to come to us pretty solid. And it's just a matter of philosophically looking at between the 2 or 3, which one, if that helps at all. And then going forward.
Yes, typically the month before we give you like a preview of how many people applied and what our budget is going to be and about how many projects that we can accept. And then we give you the scenario the following meeting and we vote on it then. So, but in the scenario packet, you'll also get a list of all of the projects that would be and a description of the ones that would be funded, sort of going both ways. And that's a commissioner request that I think has made that a lot smoother, so that you know what you're voting for. I think that was a Commissioner Holomo request a couple years ago that we started doing.
Okay, are there any further questions for Julia before I entertain a motion? And just a reminder to anyone who is inclined to make a motion, if you would make a motion for the guidelines to be accepted as presented with the amendment to the date for the September meeting.
I move that we accept the guidelines as presented with the amendment of the date of the Memorial Day
Labor
weekend.
Day.
I know I butchered that, sorry.
Labor Day.
Labor Day weekend.
Second, I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Trezilla and a second from Commissioner Valentine. And is there any further discussion?
No, thank you. That's my birthday week.
We always do that on Commissioner Jackson's birthday week. Does your birthday fall on Thursday this year?
Not sure, but I think so.
Okay.
Either way, I didn't want to influence anybody by telling you guys it was my birthday week, but thank you for agreeing to move it to the 10th.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposition? The motion has carried unanimously. Julia, I want to repeat to you what I said to your colleague Rhonda. We thank you and your entire staff. You leave us very little to bring to your attention each year because you guys are doing such a good job of interacting with the artists and the arts organizations and making sure that we are serving both the arts community and the audience in the city of Dallas. And we really, really appreciate all the hard work. And thank you for being here. Go back to bed.
Yeah, log off,
Thank
Julia.
you.
Go get some
Appreciate
rest.
appreciate you all. See you soon.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the vote to recommend additional panelists. And if we could get that slide up, do we have a briefing on this at all? So did everybody get a chance to look over this? And does anybody have any questions regarding any individual panelists who are being presented to be added to the roster? I would recommend if we have any questions about anybody that we could pull them out until the next meeting. So, but is everybody okay? If there are no questions, I can at this time entertain a motion to accept the additional panelists to the panel roster.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the additional panel to panel roster additions to the roster.
We have a motion from Commissioner Jackson. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second.
Second.
We have a second. I heard Commissioner Spellacy first, so we have a second from Commissioner Spellacy. All in favor? Any opposition? The motion has passed unanimously. Okay, we now move on to staff updates. Is that right? No? Briefings. Briefings, okay. No, is this you, Rhonda? The summer, okay. We move on now to the briefing of the summer and sustainable arts residences. Rhonda.
Okay, here I am again. Hello, everybody. Okay, we'll go through this really
Perfect.
quickly. But before I do, I don't usually get a chance to do this, and I don't do this very often. So please indulge me. I just want to say thank you to my staff. I don't, bring them up a lot, and we have two of them present in the building today that will be presenting with me, which is the first time I've ever presented with my staff. And then we have Liz and Zoe who are probably watching. So kudos and salutations to all of you all. Thank you for all the work you do. You make me look good. Okay, we're going to talk really quickly about our residency programs. We are going to begin with the summer residency for nonprofit organizations. This was a program that was begun back in 2020 after receiving feedback from some focus groups that were conducted at the time. One of the things that I took away from the focus groups was that these organizations, smaller organizations, actually needed a little bit more funding in order to be catapulted into COP. So here comes the residency. And I'm going really fast, so slow me down if I'm going too fast. I'm pulling a Glenn today. All right, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so because the program was established in order to help smaller organizations, graduate, if you will, into COP, what you have in front of you are 3 organizations who actually went through our residency program and are now in COP. One of the rules in the residency program is that once you are in COP, you cannot participate in the residency program because The whole point is for you to get into COP. So kudos to the Flame Foundation, Band and Choral, and Swan Strings, who are former participants of the residencies and are now participants in the COP program. All right, so quick overview about the program. We look for organizations who are have an operational budget of $150,000 or less. We select 5 of those, by our means of application and panel selection and all that. And what happens is once we select these 5 organizations, we assign them 2 districts to cover the 10 districts of the city that do not have a cultural center. So out of the 14, we cover 10, and each organization gets to cover 2 of those 10. Now, the services are provided by way of 8 weeks in each district. So 16 weeks altogether, but 8 in one district and 8 in another district. Next slide, please. Okay, this was a little video. I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't think it's gonna work, but that's okay if you want me to send it to you separately. But this, even if it doesn't have sound, will it move? Okay. Okay, so unfortunately, there's no sound, but this is just a little taste of what one of our residencies would look like. This is Allocations, and they're providing dance classes, an 8-week session, 8 weeks workshops of dance classes for our senior population. And I just wanted to share this with you because I thought it was adorable. But we have we have many other videos and photos of other classes that were held throughout the city. This one was from 24, 25, but again, we have videos all the way through from 2020 on and pictures and things that we can share with you. But if you want me to share this, you need to hear it with the sound because they're clapping to the beat. I know, I'm sorry, I get excited. Okay, yes, I'll send it to you. All right, moving on. So we are actually really excited to have Justin White. He's one of our coordinators, the community arts coordinator, and he is going to tell you a little bit about what he's been doing currently with our summer residencies. Take it away, Justin.
Hello, everyone. So honored to be here. So as you see on the screen, we have 10 applications that were submitted for this fiscal year. One, unfortunately, was disqualified due to location. They're in Justin, Texas. Ironically, so my name's Justin. So, so that didn't help them. So and also of that, 9 applications moved forward to panel, and we had a top 5 that scored above so that they can be awarded. And so can we go to the next slide, please, Treya? So of those, we have Infinite Arts Movement that will be respectively in districts 8 and 12, Representative Foundation in districts 6 and 11, Allocations Ballet Company in districts 10 and 13, Prism Movement Theater, which will be in districts 3 and 5, and Books and Brown Sugar, which is a newer organization to this program. They'll be in districts 2 and 4. Can we go to the next slide, please, Drea? So just to give you guys a brief breakdown, I like to give you as much information as I can without belaboring the time, but that way you may have less questions. So with Infinite Arts Movement, what they're looking to do is do an African rhythmic movement workshop, and just a brief understanding of what that is. Participants will strengthen coordination, their musicality, and their cultural understanding while learning foundations of traditional African dance, house, Afro dance, and freestyle movement. So that'll just be what that workshop will consist of for those 16 weeks. Then we have Representative Foundation. Their curriculum is going to guide residents from basic rhythmic foundation to a fully learned choreography. And that's going to be from Latin roots. Then we have Allocations Ballet Company. They're going to do dance workshops, which will include Latin folklore from different countries like Mexican dance, Colombia, Afro dance from Peru, and salsa and merengue from the Dominican Republic. Now, the unique thing about this one is that at the end of this one, they're going to have many presentations that will be scheduled. So you'll be able to attend and kind of see what they've learned. For Prism Movement Theater, they're going to incorporate, now I really like this one, they're going to incorporate clowning, mask work, and visual arts, as well as playwriting and puppetry, to allow the kids to transform their personal stories into powerful performance narratives. So they're going to tell their stories and turn themselves into superheroes. And so that's going to be interesting. And then as the program culminates, they're going to be able to create a professionally filmed sequence for each student, and they'll be able to perform as their own hero for the final for the final presentation. Last but not least is the new addition, which is Books and Brown Sugar. They're going to have a residency that's going to include a series of 4 author focused workshops. The workshops will provide hands-on guidance, mentorship, and networking opportunities, helping local writers bring their literary visions to life. And then the residency will culminate with a community literary fair. So can we go on to the final slide, please? So currently where we are in our process is we are finalizing contracts with the organizations. We should have that wrapped up fairly soon. The next steps is that we will have the organizations. We've actually taken care of that. The organizations to identify their actual locations for services. They've taken care of the districts, but we have to get the locations approved first. Then after that, we want to connect them with the commissioners, with each of you for their assigned districts. They will provide services, receive their compensation, and then provide a report. So the service dates for this will be from May 1st, 2006 through September 15th, 2006. 26. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments for Justin?
I do, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I think I heard you say that, I don't know if I heard you say a specific district they were going to be in, or did you say? it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think I might have glossed over that.
Yes, ma'am. So the slide that's on page 26.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
So those are the prospective districts that each of these artists will be serving
Oh, okay.
for that 16-month period.
We have a question from Chair Small.
Yes. When do the workshops begin?
Well, technically, the window is going to be from May 1st all the way to September, so possibly after May 1st. So right now, we have to make sure that the contracting process is completely done and that everything is executed, making sure that their insurance is current, everything else like that before they can start. Then we'll identify where they'll be, and then we'll pair them up with each of you, with the commissioners in those given, districts, to make sure if you know of some places that would be better served based on what they're offering, you could be able to let them know.
Is there a deadline for scheduling?
So yes, they have to have it scheduled before May 1st. So really, as we're working on the contracts right now, they are working on scheduling and getting because that's one of their deliverables, is we have to have their schedules for the program. Now, if you are interested in going, we've done this in the past, we'll provide you the schedules of all the programs if you want. But they're
Okay.
working on that right now. That's not finalized yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any other questions or comments? Okay, we are not quite finished with the briefing because we have another part of the Sustainable Arts Residencies for Individual Artists. Rhonda.
Thank you, Justin. Okay.
Thank you, Justin.
So I didn't bring one, but I brought two staff members. When I do it big. Hello. All right. So the Sustainable Art Residency Program, now this is for individual artists. And this was created back in 2023 when we were allocated ARPA funding for programming. We were allocated $25,000, and if I could be just a little candid, they said, Rhonda, here's $25,000, do something with it. And so we were like, okay, a residency, here we go. So we created this residency program, a program for individual artists. And if you can go to the next slide, please. Well, actually, before you do that, we actually partnered with our environmental quality department in the city. And so we partnered with them to get something that would be CCAP facing. And if you're not familiar with what CCAP is, it's the Comprehensive Environmental and Climate Action Plan. And so we wanted something that would be sustainable, that would actually also partner well with CCAP. I said that really quickly, so let me know if you need an explanation on that. Okay, so the history of the program was that we needed to find something that was sustainable art related so that the artists could participate and also still maintain the guidelines, the CCAP guidelines and the sustainability guidelines. So we reached out to 5 artists. Well, we did a call for artists, and we got 5 artists who submitted proposals for upcycled art or recycled art or anything that was going to be done with sustainable materials at that time. The award at that time was $5,000, again, because we had $25,000 to spend. However, next slide, please. Oh, shoot, I went a little too fast. Okay, never mind. So we did that. I have such surprises for you, and I'm so excited. I'm sorry. So we did that. And out of the artists that we have selected throughout the years, what I wanted to show you here, this was one of the activities that was a sustainable art project where she recycled roller skating wheels, bottle caps, and other recyclable materials to create butterflies. So on the left, you have the video of the participants of the program, and then on the right, you'll see the final product of where they created the butterfly. So you see why I get excited? I know. So I'm sorry, yes. So moving on. So the program has grown, and I'm going to ask Drea to actually explain to you how the program has grown because I get too excited and I need to calm down. So Drea, would you please explain?
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. So yeah, our program was able to grow over the past few years. At first, we started off with 5 artists who were awarded $5,000, and then we were able to move up to 8 artists who are now being awarded $6,500, which is great. This year, we had 14 artists apply for the residency, and 13 moved forward to panel. We also had 1 person who was disqualified for living outside of the Dallas city limits. From those 13 who were moved to panel, we chose the top 8 with the highest rated scores. We can move to the next slide. Thank you. So these are the top 8 chosen artists. From this list, it is in alphabetical order, but still Alex Sealy was our top scored artist. And these are all the locations that were assigned to each artist from the locations that we were able to choose from. All right, next slide. So these are their proposed projects. I won't take too long in explaining each one of them, but from our top person, Alex Sealy, his project is titled Dallas is a Zero Waste Community. He's crafting activities using recycled plastics to beautify spaces, which I think is pretty cool. And then also someone who I want to mention as well, Julie J. Torres. She's new to the city. This is her first time having any kind of city contract, any kind of like artist residency with the city. Hers is really cool. She is using food to dye clothing. So say for instance, the pomegranates, she would take that to dye clothes as a way to like show sustainability. Next slide, please. And this is a few other of our artists that we have in their proposed projects. So we have Sandra Gibson with Recycled Percussions. This is actually one of my favorites. She's using recycled material to create handheld percussive instruments. So if you want to think like a handheld drum created out of like cardboard and different types of like plastic. It's a great idea. Thank you so much. Next slide. Okay, so this is where we are right now in our contracting process. So we were able to locate our artists, locate our locations, and pair our artists with their locations. We're finalizing the contracts now, and from there, they will provide their services, workshops, and then will be compensated and give us their final report. The services started from March 1st, 2026 to September 15th, 2026. We're still finalizing those contracts. And I know Chair Small had questions about for the last residency on when those workshops will be available. We are trying to make sure that they are available before the end of April. So those workshops should be beginning May 1st. Next slide. And that is all. Thank you.
Okay, do we have questions or comments? Commissioner Trezilla.
Thank you. With the recreation centers in the future, is there any way that we can have a district next to each one of those?
Yes, yes.
There's several that I'm not familiar with. I'm just curious what districts they're in.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, absolutely. We can do that. We can send that to you later on as well. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
If I may, these will also be briefed by memo to commission, and so we'll include that in that memo. Thank you for
Great.
that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Thank you.
Thank you
all
so
of-
much.
All of you.
Thank you.
Rhonda, I see why you get so excited. Where are those butterflies?
I think the artist has them.
The artist has
Yeah,
them.
I think she kept them, but we have to ask if she will
I
share them.
want one.
Yeah, but she.
No, oh, I
I
think,
mean,
well,
they're
I do,
huge, you know,
well,
like-
I do think it's something to think about going forward, like, how do we
How
get
do
them
we
for
get
the,
those?
like for the, cultural centers or it might be fun to do, in my district is District 9 and we're always looking for, we have lots of gallery space in the bathhouse. It might be fun to do, work with the bathhouse and
Do an
do
exhibit?
an end of the summer, do a fall show
Okay.
of all of the,
Yeah.
that way, because I know the artists want the work back, but it would be,
Yeah.
and usually that's an opportunity for the artists to sell their work as well when they have a gallery show. So,
Sounds
and
good.
I feel like if Commissioner Holomo was here, he would be pitching that for Oak Cliff Cultural Center. So, so maybe we could spread the wealth among our cultural centers. That would be a great opportunity.
How I remember these.
Because I know you
residencies.
have so much time to take on other projects.
But remember now, the residencies are to be away from the cultural centers.
Yes, but we can, but to have an opportunity to see the work.
Okay, I know.
But if that,
We'll work it out. We'll work it
but if that doesn't fit, then have a show at the end of the residency
Definitely.
in the center where you've had it. I mean, it would
Yes,
just be great for,
absolutely.
to involve more of the community to get to see the work.
And yeah.
You know what's gonna happen.
I know, and I'm going to speak for Commissioner Bodell, who is not with us today. I know she would love to have some really great color pictures of those
Right.
projects for our
Okay,
annual
we have-
report.
I was just about to say
Good
that at the
seeing
very least in our annual report, it would be wonderful to be showcasing, as you have today in, the presentation, in the annual report.
Definitely. We got them.
Great work. Okay, we are now up to our, to the allocations committee chair updates. Mine are going to be brief. I'm sparkling tonight because I am headed to, opening night at the Dallas Theater Center of Ragtime. So my update for you, which I love it when the audience I'm speaking to is super receptive. My update to you tonight is, first of all, anybody who can be at City Hall next week on Wednesday wearing your arts button. It is crucial that we show up in front of City Council about how important the arts budget is. If you have not filled out the survey, which was circulated by lots of different people, I've received it lots of different places. You probably got it from Chris Heimball would be my guess. If you need it, I can send it to you. But please take a minute. It takes just a couple of minutes to fill out the survey. It asks you what your priorities are for budget for the city of Dallas. Pay attention, kind of flip through the survey before you answer it so that you don't undo what you are intending to do with one set of questions. It will ask you, what your priorities are for the budget. Then it will ask you, if we have to cut something, which departments is it okay with you for us to cut? I have an idea of how you should fill that out, but it's supposed to be everybody's individual needs. So please take a look at that and help us because there is a proposed $1.6 million cut to the arts budget. If the press that I've been reading is to be believed, and Glenn is crawling under the table over here. So I think I'm pretty close to right. So not only should you fill it out, please encourage your like-minded art supporter friends to fill it out. You only have to be a resident of Dallas. That's the first question. Are you a resident of Dallas? There doesn't seem to be any proof required, but that is the first question. Are you a resident of Dallas? And then please fill that out. So that's my pitch number one. My pitch number two is it's Arts Month. Get out there. There is so much to see and do. The month will be over before you know it. A big thank you to the commissioners who have been showing up at all of the events so far. We started with Arts Month before it was even Arts Month. A big congratulations to the OAC staff for a truly spectacular press conference and kickoff. You couldn't be in that room without being overwhelmed with what there is to do in Dallas. There are YouTube video updates that you just search Arts Month Dallas, and the first things that's going to pop up is a little slideshow. And there are several different ones. And right now there's one that has week one. There's a whole lot more out there to do other than what's on those slideshows, but pull those up, put them on your Facebook, put them on your Instagram. A big part of how we make the case for the arts in Dallas is by making sure all of our friends and family know to get out there. And because I'm going to Ragtime tonight, I will tell you that there is a friends and family night next week with a 20% discount and a backstage tour. If any of you are interested, let me know and I will reach out to their marketing or development department and have them send it, or I'll send it. Well, I'll reach out and have them send it to Adriana and we'll get it out to you next week. So those are my updates. Would anybody else like to chime in? Commissioner Truzilla.
I just have to share one quick thing. Last Sunday, I had the privilege of speaking to the Young Men's Service League in our district. Most of the kids were from J.J. Pierce and from from St. Mark's. And my topic was public art and civic responsibility. And so knowing that I was dealing with 28 ninth grade boys, I knew I had to get them busy. And I couldn't just talk to them. And so I did do a 15-minute talk, and we went through and talked about what is good for a city and what is bad for a city. Spent a lot of time on the Confederate monuments. They were really interested in that. And then I took a picture of the roundabout in our district and brought 25 things of Play-Doh and divided them up into teams and to create a sculpture for the roundabout. It was just a lot of fun. And normally with something like art and a bunch of boys, that could have been a snooze fest. And I heard many of them say, low key, that was actually fun. So just
Great
wanted
work.
to share that with you. Great
work. On the public art front, go by Crockett Dog Park on Carroll Street. I've forgotten the name of the sculpture. Does anybody remember? Is it Cloud?
It's called Natural Encounter.
Natural Encounter. That I knew it. It's a beautiful name. If you don't see any other new piece of public art this year, take your dog, take your family, go to Crockett Dog Park and take a minute to see it. It will make you smile. It's a really lovely piece. And if I'm remembering correctly, it is the first piece in our collection made with this particular acrylic. Anyway, the material is unique and sustainable. So go see that. And we have another dedication coming up that was in the packet that Adriana sent out. Adriana?
Yes, sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Valentin, for letting me take over your microphone. I feel really
I should let
in
you
your
just come through
space.
here. Yeah.
No. So Tipton Park is going to be dedicated on Friday, April 10th. So I will be sending that out tomorrow with another announcement. I don't know, Glenn, if you want to share the announcement that I just told you about.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Glenn?
On another event.
Yeah,
exciting
so
event.
hot off the press, there was just a press release. Mayor Johnson will be announcing our poet laureate next Wednesday in City Hall lobby. That's April 8th at 8:30 a.m. if you would like to attend that. But yes, that'll also go out. Thank you.
So is that the same day of the budget or is the budget Tuesday? Is the budget meeting Tuesday and that's Wednesday, or is it?
It's probably both Wednesday because the
think
meeting doesn't
it's
start
both
until
Wednesday.
9.
So
Yeah.
you can come with your arts button and then you can hang out in the lobby and meet the.
Yeah.
get the
So
announcement.
we'll do 8:30 for the poet laureate, and then
And
9
then we
o'clock
can
is
go
when
upstairs.
is when the meeting will start.
We can go upstairs. Any other comments before I move?
Just going to comment that the arts and medicine event
Today.
opening today was really great. And that if you have the opportunity, while you're downtown on next week, Wednesday, you should go and check out the art and medicine exhibit. It'll still be up right through the rest of the month.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what that program is?
Yeah, so the arts and medicine program is with Baylor Hospital. They have an art therapist there and they have a nurse that basically they have a studio there and they open up the studio to help people who are going through various different medical concerns or procedures, so on and so forth. And it's free to patients, and they have created this opportunity for people to make art, knowing that art is healing and can be very beneficial, not just to mental health, but also to physical health and concerns. And so long as I have the microphone, I met one of the participants. And so the exhibit features some of the artists work that participated in this program. I met a woman who said that she lost her husband and that following his passing, she felt like she was quote unquote dead emotionally. And she got introduced to the studio, and one of the first things that she did with the art therapist, the art therapist said, you know, well, here's a canvas, here's some paint. And she was like, I don't know how to paint. I don't know how to draw. And so she said, well, just, you know, just make something. And so she just started working with the materials and everything. And then when she got home, she said that she heard the voice of God that said, turn that image around, look, reorient it. And so she said she reoriented the picture and she saw a figure of a person almost like in stride running. And she said that that God communicated to her that this is, you know, representation of, you know, getting up and moving, you know, forward into the future. And so it was a really beautiful, touching story. And the work is amazing too.
And for those of you who don't know about the program, that art studio, artists walk into that art studio and say, I wish I had, it is not a craft studio. It is truly an art studio that is well equipped with all sorts of everything that you need to make art. And the program's been in existence for a while and it's having some really great success. So I'm sorry I missed the dedication today, but that's up all month.
Mhm.
So see everybody at City Hall next week. Now, we are not finished yet because we have staff updates. Is that you, Glenn?
It's me. No updates. I will have that calendar, yes, next. If you just want to put that up, that's fine. I just want to say how proud I am of my team, the ones that are here, the ones that are the ones that are joining online. That includes Rhonda and her team. Just thanks, because I just showed up today and
They make-
and they
they
make me
look
look real
very
good.
good.
They make me look real good. And I'd be remiss if I didn't provide them with the credit that they so honestly and hardworkingly deserve. And that also includes our events team with Rosalinda and our engagement manager, Kevin, to really help with all those events. The events that I heard, the press conference last week, the event today, those things. I mean, it is insane the amount of work that they do and get done. So thank you.
And all the ice chests they tote.
Oh my
and
God,
the
yes.
Coffee carafes that they carry.
I just show up and open my computer. I'm like, anything? Great.
I just want to go on record to say that all the events that I've been to, they're all very well organized, planned. And if there's any kind of scuttle or whatever, the public facing, we don't see any of that.
Great.
So you guys are doing a great job.
It's because thank you so much. I'll let everyone know. And thanks to Adriana for all of these meetings, because she is also, while she's doing all of this, helping in every single other way. So.
And keeping us as, I think that we are more informed than, I don't know how, I lose track of how many years, but I know it's a lot because I know I'm going to term limit out. But it is really a pleasure to, when I miss something, I miss it because I knew about it and it didn't fit on my calendar or I didn't get it on my calendar. I don't miss it because I didn't have the information about where to go, where to park, what time it started, whether there'd be a seat or a parking place for me. And all of those things make it very easy to attend. So we do really appreciate that. Okay, I gave everybody plenty of time to talk. So now I am going to call this meeting to a close. And I want to thank you all for getting a whole lot of work done in an hour and 3 minutes. So all business before the allocations committee being completed, I call this meeting to a close at 5:33 p.m. Go out and see some art. It's Arts Month.
Thanks, everyone.
Did you see it in preview? I've heard it's fabulous. And, you know, it's in collaboration with the SMU Musical Theater Program. And